A very good morning and welcome to the Idea Morning Digest. And it's a bright and beautiful day here in the city of Abuja, and I hope it is bright and beautiful where you are. This is Idea Morning Digest once again on Idea TV, where we take you into, or we open the window for you into the world of innovation, development, and big ideas shaping Africa's tomorrow. My name is Cynthia Bassi, and I'm never alone, and today I'm with Deborah. Deborah, how are you? Smile. I want to see that big smile.
Good morning.
I think we're matching. Yeah. And we didn't
Yes,
plan. I just noticed.
But that's good. And welcome to all our viewers out there. Yes, this is right. Every day comes with its own rhythm, its own surprises, and of course, its own headlines. And what we do here, it's our job to break them down for you, give you the context, and show you why they matter, whether it's education, business, innovation, science, tech, and everyday issue. As far as it's thriving on the lips of citizens, it matters to us. It's very important to us. So welcome to Idea Morning Digest.
All right. So I think you're going to be the best part of our mornings if you join this conversation. Send in your thoughts, send in your ideas, send in your opinions. We want to hear those grandiose ideas from you. You can send them to our social media handles or platforms rather at Idea TV, and of course via mail at Idea TV Limited. And I won't forget to say we want to hear from you. Let's go on a quick break. We'll be right back.
Number 8, self-healing materials. Materials that repair themselves aren't just science fiction anymore. Researchers at the University of Manchester developed a self-healing aerospace material that can autonomously patch small cracks in aircraft components. In 2023, LG Chem showcased self-healing coatings that restore scratches on car surfaces within minutes under heat. The potential extends to consumer electronics, where cracked phone screens may eventually fix themselves without a trip to the repair shop. Markets and Markets estimates the self-healing materials industry could grow to over $4 billion by 2027, with applications in automotive, aerospace, and infrastructure leading the way.
All right, good to know you're still with us. And if you're just joining, this is the Idea Morning Digest. Right about now, we want to take you through the news we have today, or the news that are making wave this morning all over Africa and of course and beyond. The first news we have here is NAFDAC raises alarm over fake BETACLOX antibiotic in circulation, and we are also going to bring to you news about Gates Foundation committing $1.4 billion to climate resilient farming in Africa and Asia, and Diabetes Association urges federal government to declare state of emergency on diabetes care. And yes, Trump threatens pay cuts for striking air traffic controllers as shutdown disrupts U.S. flights. Look at the first news we have today. The Nigerian Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has issued a public warning over a suspected fake antibiotic, BETACLOX, a combination of ampicillin and clozacillin, currently circulating in Nigeria's drug market. The falsified product was discovered in the supply chain after being traced from Gambore Market in Maiduguri to retail outlets in Kano and Zaria. According to NAFDAC, the product bears a fraudulent registration number A44724, which actually belongs to an entirely different medicine, mebendazole 500 milligram. Investigations also revealed discrepancies in the importer's address, raising further concerns about the drug's authenticity and source. The agency identified the manufacturer as Siani Laboratory Limited in India with batch number 230701, produced in July 2023 and expiring in July 2026. NAFDAC warns that the fake antibiotic poses serious health risks, including ineffective treatment and increased antimicrobial resistance. The agency is urging the public, healthcare providers, and pharmaceutical outlets to remain vigilant, report suspicious products, and ensure that all medicines purchased or dispensed carry valid NAFDAC registration numbers. Okay, I mean, this is a very concerning one. It's always concerning when we hear about fake drugs, because this is not the first time. This is not entirely, it's not entirely new. The revelation about NAFDAC about fake, how do they call it, BETACLOX antibiotics circulating in Nigerian market exposes different layers of problems, of issues in our healthcare system. I do not think it's just about these drugs. I think it's the vulnerability in our healthcare system, and this isn't just about counterfeit drugs. I also think it's about trust. This is it's about regulation. This is where proper regulation needs to come in, and of course this is about safety in generality for the millions of lives who are out there, unsuspecting about some of these fake drugs. People who are depending on drugs for their survival. I don't think there's anybody that doesn't depend on drugs. And this report tells us that counterfeit drugs are now taking, should I say, they are not taking proper structure. They are not taking more strategic ways to, create all of this. They are not mastering the art of deception, if I should even put it that way, for people to believe. Because if something is packaged properly, and we know in Nigeria, most people rely on orthodox medicines. I mean, they trust, let me not even just say rely, they trust it completely. So when you see something that is packaged beautifully and properly, you would not hesitate to want to take it. And these people have mastered the art of this deception, of packaging these drugs properly. But we must ensure that these drugs of bringing all of these counterfeit drugs to justice doesn't just end here, because we know Professor Dora Akunyili started this in the early 2000s, and she fought it tooth and nail, and we are still fighting that war until now. I think this is a first war, and it needs proper attention. It needs, effective strategies this time around for us to fight against drugs or fake or counterfeit drugs. We shouldn't just rely on NAFDAC's enforcement. We shouldn't just rely on NAFDAC's enforcement solely. I think this is a systemic issue, and we must look inwardly and see how we can tackle all of these things.
One of the things that I have seen in this particular news is the fact that the reasons why we see situations like this is because of the weak import control of these drugs. And if you notice it, Nigeria imports more than they have their own local drugs being created. And this is one of the things that we've been pushing for: better healthcare systems where we get to help produce our own drugs that are reliable, not just produce drugs also, but reliable drugs. Because when you see pirated drugs, you fake drugs, you notice that most of these fake drugs are made in Nigeria. And if you're importing drugs, and the ones you're importing are good, and the ones in Nigeria, it just tells you that the healthcare system in Nigeria really needs to improve and start, or let's say stop importing than the way they creating their own drugs or manufacturing their own drugs. This will also curb this situation of, because it's from the importation when it's getting into that all of this pirated copy gets to mix up with the original drugs, and there's original. And how do you even get to know? Now, I like the fact that NAFDAC has really been working on fake drugs and how to enhance the will I say knowledge on the drugs cartons themselves, so that citizens can know which is fake and which is original. Now, what will you now say about people who cannot read? The ones that they go to the chemist and they do not even give them pack, they count it for them. What happens to those people? So we have a lot of things when it comes to fake drugs, how to curb this situation of fake drugs. We have a lot of places to touch. We have a lot of problems to solve. There are so many problems we need to solve. So, like I said, first on that list is trying to see how Nigeria can manufacture their own drugs, so that these importation problems can stop. And another thing is how we can educate people now, and also stop the use of drugs without, will I say, carton labelings. Yes. Now, paracetamol has both the one that is in the pack and the one that is counted. Now, how do you know which of the paracetamol that is counted is fake? But from the pack, So most of these problems are things that can easily be solved, but we just have to look into the matter and make sure that all of this are actually solved in the right manner, so that we do not stop the importation and we still see this situation. Please, that's like the major thing we should look at. Okay, moving to the next story on our list, we see that Gates Foundation commits 1.4 billion to climate resilient farming in Africa and Asia. Now we see the bill, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has announced a commitment of $1.4 billion by 2029 to support smallholder farmers in sub-Saharan Africa and Asia for droughts and heat waves condition now threatening both food security and crop nutrition across the continent. According to the International Livestock Research Institute, about 95% of farmland in Africa still depends on rainfall, leaving it vulnerable to changing weather patterns. And the Gates Foundation says it will build on proven solutions, such as improved delight resilient crop varieties and mobile-based weather alert systems already used in countries like Kenya and Rwanda. This move comes as Africa's annual adaptation needs are estimated at around $50 billion. This is a beautiful one. I think we need a lot of this in Africa. We need a lot of this in Africa when it comes to farming facing situations that can be managed. You know, we always say it, when there's a solution, it's different with seeing the fact that you don't have a solution to a particular problem. But when there's an existing solution that is that is obvious and you're still facing that problem, it just looks like you want to keep staying in that particular problem. But seeing that Africa is trying to touch solutions and tackle a lot of problems when it comes to farming, healthcare, and all of that, it's something that we need to applaud those initiatives. But in this, I'm really saying this because, of course, I like food, and I love the fact that I'm also diving into the agricultural sector, and I see this as a particular way to help farmers, not just plant according to season. Now we're talking about this particular issue, and we said in revolved countries, we see so many countries and they plant so many crops that is not their season, but because they have the right tools and the right technology, they plant. There are so many plants that if you go to revolved countries, there are so many plants that are not even planted on the ground, on the soil directly. They have plants that they just convert the soil down to a particular place and use technology to actually grow this. And I'm not talking about the ones that they pour chemicals on and all of those. You understand what I'm saying? But the ones that would still grow, but with the help of technology, it still takes its normal form of growth, but it's better and faster, and it's not dependent on climate change, weather, or if it's your season or not your season, to also help in covering so many issues of increase of food products, the prices of food products during their seasons. When you see onions comes out during the season, and by the time the season is not there, onions is like gold, because of course when you see the price is fixed on some sizes of onions, you get discouraged. So a lot of these problems will be solved if Africa can actually walk into that era where we will go beyond climate and weather conditions to actually help our agricultural system. It's
very important. I think this is a very huge and timely intervention from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, committing 1.4 billion to help farmers in Asia and Africa adapt to, changing climate is very, very important, very good. I mean, these are some of the things we want to see, because I really think it's not even charity, because when we hear Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the first thing that comes to our mind is charity. But I really think this is not even about charity, it's about adaptation in action. I was in a climate meeting for the COP30, and we're talking about how, we can go about this, and we were talking about how we need to start moving from, we have moved past bringing out the issues, what climate is causing. We have moved past, and I told them that we have moved past even the solutions, because I feel like the solutions are there for us. Is to start acting on those solutions that matters now. If we don't act on them, I don't know what we want to do. So I think this is more about adaptation in action, and I like to see this. I like everything that is going on here. And why this is important is because in the 5% of African farmland relies on rainfall. That's just the truth. Our rainfall patterns these days, we know they are no longer reliable and predictable. We cannot predict them these days. It's either this year we're getting too much rainfall, or we are getting no rainfall at all, or little rainfall, and we cannot even predict it. these days. And in Nigeria alone, farmers in the north have lost billions of naira. I remember a field study I carried out in 2024, that was last year, and going to what do they call those area in Kwali, Bako side, and farmers there were complaining a lot about, you know, how billions are being lost because of unpredictable weather conditions, especially rainfall. So if we look at all of this problem with all of the recent yields and non-yields we have been getting with farm products, especially when it comes to being affected by floods, drought. That's why I say it's either too much rainfall or no rainfall at all, little rainfall. So this is the time we have to look at how we can be resilient, how we can, you know, fight for these things. And, you know, because when we look at it, the workforce in Africa is coming from the agricultural. The major workforce in Africa is coming from the agricultural sector. Say like 70% of the workforce is coming from the agricultural sector. So I think if we don't do something now, but then before I even go for that, there's something that is even very necessary for me here to reflect on, because when I see issues like, while this is commendable, I think it's commendable, first of all, that we are seeing foreign bodies, foreign foundations investing in Africa's food security, Africa's food future, Africa's agricultural resilience and whatnot. But then I think it underscores a deeper layer of issue to me, because we cannot continue relying, African governments cannot continue relying on foreign aids. What if they come just like earlier this year that, you know, US aid cuts down supply, and even what Trump is saying currently, the president of US is going to cut aid to Nigeria, I think because of the whole alleged persecution of Christians in Nigeria, that is going to cut aid. If something like this comes up and all foreign aids are cut, even in agricultural sector, what are we going to do? So that's another question. What are we going to do? So I think Africa needs to, you know, wake up and see, especially with the African Development Bank. It's here already. We have seen what the AFCTA is doing, try to create routes for inter-African trade. We love that. But what is African Development Bank doing? We want to see how, you know, they can come in and see how we can, you know, create those climate mitigation systems and whatnot, or initiatives and whatnot, and let it not end at that, let it end at real actions. I think this is, at the end of the day, is very promising, because we cannot wait for our government. We need to, when we see an opportunity, we need to grab it. So I think this is an opportunity we must grab, and we thank the Melinda Gates Foundation. They have been doing a lot in Africa. But then let's move to the next story. The Diabetes Association of Nigeria has called on the federal government to declare a state of emergency on diabetes care, warning that the country faces a sharp and alarming rise in diabetes cases and deaths. According to the association's national president, Professor Ejiofor Ugo, about 11.4 million Nigerians are currently living with diabetes, with many more undiagnosed due to poor access to routine screening. He said only a fraction of those diagnosed receive adequate treatment, while most struggle with the high cost of care, which now averages between 100,000 and 120,000 naira monthly. Marking the 2025 World Diabetes Day, Team Diabetes and Wellbeing, Professor Ugu described the disease as an epidemic causing untold hardship, disabilities and premature deaths. He revealed that diabetes kills at least 30,000 Nigerians every year, placing the country among the highest globally for diabetes mortality. He blamed the situation on poor access to care, shortage of retained personnel, high medication costs, and unhealthy lifestyle habits, warning that many patients now resort to prayers and alternative medicines due to lack of affordable treatments. To tackle the crisis, the association urged the government to urgently develop a national diabetes policy and strategic plan, subsidize essential medications and consumables, and reinstate the sugar-sweetened beverages tax at 200 naira per litre. Professor Ugu also called for the expansion of health insurance coverage, particularly in rural areas, and establishment of a national diabetes registry to improve data collection and guide effective policy response. I think this is something that should shake the nation, because somehow diabetes is not being really talked about. But I know I'm a witness of how many people diabetes have killed around me. So I can say for sure that diabetes is an epidemic that has not really been given much attention it should be given. And this call, I think, is very, very necessary at this point in time. It is very necessary because this is a call for state emergency on diabetes care. It's an alarm. I think it's an alarm. It's an alarm that is necessary because when 11.4 million Nigerians are living with diabetes and many more undiagnosed, it's not about statistics again. We're beginning to look at a national crisis and we must tackle it. We are talking about a disease that kills at least, say, 30,000 Nigerians, every year. That is according to the association, what the association have said, killing up to 30,000 Nigerians every year. Yet the conversations around it still remains at minimal rates, still remains more, sensational. It's been talked about like a sensational disease, just like malaria or COVID-19. I think this is it's a serious problem. It's a serious problem that needs to be, solved. And it's this is even what's recalling back to 2018 when the Nigerian government launched the National Communicable Disease, I think NCD policy. But it has largely gathered dust, if I should put it that way. Well, not much. I will not say nothing has been done. Not much has really been done. No clear funding, no traceable implementation, Meanwhile, we have the sweetened beverages known as the drivers or cause of this obesity and whatnot that leads to diabetes and whatnot. They are still out there. They are still accessible. They are still cheap. They are still, all of these controversial things must be removed because I see it as controversial things. If you are coming and people know that. The funny thing is that people know that this is what is killing them and they still go for it. So the best way is just to regulate it somehow. We just have to find a way to regulate it. If not, I don't know what we risk. If we can lose 11.4 million people and 30,000 people are dying yearly, then I don't know what we risk at this point in time. I think it's not just about, this is about, not just about affordability now. Or it's about affordability, it's about awareness too. Because if people continue to afford this, you can get sugar for 100 naira. I know sugar was even less than that before, but at least you can get sugar for 100 naira. You can even get sugar in some areas for 15 naira. That's affordable somehow. In this economy, it is affordable. If you can get something for 15 naira and 100 naira, it is affordable. And talking of awareness, people need to understand that this thing is killing us. In as much as they take them, they sweet you, but you should understand that it is killing you as well. And also accountability. If we are implementing policies, we must ensure that we back that policy till the end. We must see it through till the end. Or I don't know if there should even be an end to it. But if nothing changes, diabetes, I see, will quietly bankrupt Nigerian families as well. Because when we talk about even sugar and whatnot, sweetened stuff, it's not just about sugar we take in. We are talking about so many things that have carbohydrates. Carbohydrates give some of these things. So I just think we should do better with our health system and policy we put out there.
Okay, so I like the fact that you said so many of us knows about this. They're informed. So it's not misinformation that's just the problem. The fact that so many people know about it and they do not want to, stop the use to prevent this diabetes from actually escalating in the body system. Now, first thing first, we know that with the number that we're seeing on the charts, the government will want to do their own part. But in all, the citizens have a large amount of role to play in this situation. Now, even if the government decides that, okay, you stop using sugar in some of the products that are being sold, or some of the food stuff, or some of the food items like maybe Milo and every other thing, they bring up that kind of policy and make it circulate the policy, and the companies actually follow suit with those policies. You will still see people making tea and putting extra sugar. Now the government cannot go and hold those people and say, okay, we will just stop the use of sugar in Nigeria. We can't do that. We can't do that because we still know that sugar is also actually very important too. These insulins that are not good are actually still, they have their advantages. Now, glucose in the body helps you when you retain some glucose in your liver, if I'm not mistaken. So the health practitionist out there, please do my stand to be corrected. Now, if those glucose are being saved, they are used to help you during the time where your strength cannot, let's say, prevail anymore. It helps you to run on that particular strength. But when you're seeing situations where people are not even working, you're not working, you're not doing anything, but you're taking more sugar. You're not working, you're not doing anything, you're taking more sugar, and you know, then the old elderly ones are found in this particular let's say situations taking sugar when we know that you're supposed to have moved past that at that age. In all of this, like I said, even if the government comes out, bring out awareness, they bring out policies to stop this, the citizens have a role to play, a major role to play in this particular issue. We need to go beyond educating them and showing them that this is deadly. It is deadly, to kill you, and you need to come to that agreement that you have to stop this because of your health, will I say your health challenges. And most of these people, funny enough, most of these diabetic patients, when they go to the hospital and they tell them, you know that it's few that still follow suit with whatever their doctor have told them to do. So like I said, it's not just the government problem, it's the problem of the citizens. Everybody has a role to play in this, and the citizens have more role than the government. The government will do what they can do, but what is the citizens? What are they doing about their own health? What are you doing? Even if the government don't want to do anything, your own health. They say health is wealth. Health is wealth. And for God goodness sake,
some people do not like their
well, but we'll not say anything anyway in all of it. The next news, it says in the United States, the United States President Donald Trump has threatened to cut the pay of air traffic controllers who called in sick during the ongoing government shutdown, which has now stretched into its 41st day. The action comes as more than 2,300 flights were cancelled and nearly 9,000 delayed on Monday, worsening pressure on already strained aviation system. The National Air Traffic Controller Association has condemned the threat, calling its members unsung heroes for continuing to work without pay. Union President Nick Daniel urged the Congress to end the shutdown, warning the air traffic controllers should not be used as political pawns. Many controllers have been reportedly been working extended hours without compensations, and their families struggle to meet daily expenses. Despite the growing backlash, President Trump reiterated his position on social media, demanding that all controllers return to their work immediately and promising $10,000 bonus for those who remained on duty. Meanwhile, the lawmakers in U.S. Senate appears closer to passing a temporary funding bill to reform the government, raising hopes of relief for aviation workers and passengers facing the widespread disruptions. Now, this issue, you know, when I saw this particular news, I went to check what was the reason behind these controllers going on or taking a sick leave, in quotes. And I found out that they were not really sick. They took it because of the issue of, will I say, stalled payments of their salaries. And they were looking for other alternative, will I say, ways to get money to actually help their families. Now, if it just looks like the one that happened with ASO and federal government in Nigeria, where ASO was threatening a strike, and they went on strike, and the federal government said no work, no pay policy, brought up the no work, no pay policy to, I don't know if it's to threaten them. And now we were seeing another one in the US. You know, I was looking at the comment and someone said, I thought it was only in Nigeria we see situations like this, but even the US have their own ways. It's the same statement, but in another way. This one you're compensating the ones who stayed, the ones who, if you look at it, they might have had other ways to fend for themselves, and that's why they stayed on that job, knowing that I have other means of getting money. So this is not the only place. One of the ones that this is their only source of income. What happens to them? You cannot keep working and not getting paid. You, of course, you will react to what has happened. And reacting to what has happened and you coming out to make that kind of statement, it just shows that it shows a lot of things. I do not want to put out a particular idea of what it shows, but allegedly it just shows that you do not care about what they feel. And what happened? Another question I wanted to ask is, the money that you're using to compensate the ones that stayed, why didn't you just disburse it during the time you were owing these people? Why didn't you just give out this money? It just shows that there's money, but let's let me not go further. A lot of things is tied to this particular statement made. A lot of comments from different people, both American citizens and Nigerian citizens, on this particular issue. A lot of things is tied to this particular statement.
It's even tied to all over the world, Seth, because I mean, when people in very delicate and important sectors in a country are striking and are not working, then it will affect many people. When it comes to, we're talking about flight movement. So if there is no flights, I mean, we're seeing here that 2,300 flights were cancelled and nearly 9,000. Do you know what 9,000 is? Was delayed, because most of those controllers called in sick, they were not at work, they were unpaid, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. But this is going to affect people. If we look past every other thing, it's going to affect people. It's citizens or commuters or whatnot. It's passengers, travelers that are going to feel this the most. But then if we want to look at the other aspect of this, I mean, this is not the first time the US have done something like this. I think way back in the 1980s, something like this have happened with President Ronald Reagan. And, you know, we see it telling on the labor relations of US, the US labor sector. We saw it told on it on the US labor union. Trump's move, on one hand, it is good, because if you do not come to work, you don't have to get paid. I think it's in the law. I think it brings my mind back to Nigeria's case, which you mentioned, that Tunji Alausa, the Minister of Education, said if you don't go to work, you're not going to get paid, and it's in the law. It's there. So I think this is a similar case. If you don't go to work, you don't get paid. But then, if you want to polarize the situation more, you know, it can lead to economic uncertainty. He should have that in mind. And, you know, I think this approach he's taking is more like a hard line. I think it should be softened a little. I know President Trump, if he says something, I mean, he says something. But I think that his stance might be politically risky, economically risky too. And I'm just appealing, if he can hear me, that, I mean, that this should not, his base should not equate to toughness. I know his kind of leadership is kind of very tough, so it should not equate to toughness at the end of the day with his kind of leadership, with this case too, because we're in a democratic society. And what does a democratic society? I know Trump is a Republican, but then we're in a democratic society and we cannot sweep that. And who upheld democracy the most? It's the US. So, and democracy should equate to, you know, fairness, you know, flexibility, rather than firmness and inflexibility at this point in time. So I think you should just do better with them so that they can come back to work happy and ready to work and ready to give their services, good services, to people that need their services. Because working without pay, even if they come back to work, people's lives are going to be at risk. But then I think that's the much we can take for today. Let's go through the headlines we brought your way. So we brought to you news that NAFDAC raises alarm over.
At the University of Manchester developed a self-healing aerospace material that can autonomously patch small cracks in aircraft components. In 2023, LG Chem showcased self-healing coatings that restore scratches on car surfaces within minutes under heat. The potential extends to consumer electronics, where cracked phone screens may eventually fix themselves without a trip to the repair shop. Markets and Markets estimates the self-healing materials industry could grow to over $4 billion by 2027, with applications in automotive, aerospace, and infrastructure leading the way.
Welcome back. It's good to know that you're still with us. This is the Idea Morning Digest. Just before the break, we touched down on different headlines, major headlines that are making waves globally. But this next conversation hits close to, should I say home? Not just home for Nigeria, but hits every body, hits all over the world. It's Africa's call for climate justice ahead of COP30. So in a powerful statement, the African Union President, Muhammad Ali Yusuf, reminded the world that although Africa contributes less than 4% of global emissions, our continent continues to bear the brunt of climate change, from floods to droughts, from food insecurity to energy poverty. And that's why his message ahead of the Global Climate Summit in Belém, Brazil, struck such a strong chord. He said, and I quote, "The industrialized nations must honor the adaptation funding promises, not as charity, but as a moral and historical responsibility." The statement captures the heart of the issue, fairness. For years, Africa has been promised billions in climate adaptation funds, yet the numbers tell a sobering story. Developing countries need about $310 billion annually, but received only $26 billion in 2023. That's less than 10%, a huge gap that continues to widen, and yet Africa is not sitting back. The AU's Climate Strategy 2022 to 2032, the Decade of Smart Agriculture, and the Mission 300 Initiative for Clean Energy are examples of proactive steps being taken to secure a resilient and sustainable future for Africans. So today our discussion is centered on one big question, which is, can Africa achieve true climate justice, not through charity, but just like the AU president has said, but through fairness, innovation, and global accountability? We'll be exploring what COP30 means for the continent, how the AU's climate strategy fits into, the broader picture, and what practical steps are needed to move from promises now to progress. So yes, Deborah, a lot to talk about. COP30 is on. The world have gathered again to talk about how to, mitigate climate issues once more and see how they can put not just practical terms, but practical actions, how they can tackle climate issues. And I think this is very, very important. Every year I look forward to, as a climate advocate and as an environmental advocate, every year I look forward to COP30, and I look forward to it not being just talks and then we come back and then we still deliberate on the same issue which we have tackled in COP29, COP28, 27, and all of the other COP meetings rather, or conferences that have happened. But then there is high level of at the core of this story, at the core of this news, at the core of this statement that the president of the AU have talked about. It's more like it's about justice and power this time around for Africa, because industrialized countries have built their economies during centuries of fossil fuel. I know, was it last 2 years where we were campaigning for Fund Our Future, let big banks stop funding industrial activities that kills us, that uses fossil fuel. And this time around, we're seeing that, okay, industrialized countries use this and their countries develop sort of, and this time around they're saying we shouldn't use it because it is killing people. And we know that, and even if I know that Africa relies on oil and gas, especially Nigeria, we rely on oil and gas. That's how we even get revenue for our economy. But then when we look at these things, we are like, okay, we still sort of, I know there was a debate that me and Chinatu were talking about it yesterday. There was a debate that if we stop using or we completely eradicate the use of fossil fuel, as they call it, unclean fuel, how are we going to survive? Because whether we like it or not, there are some areas, there are some sectors which we still need fossil fuel. So there are so many questions around this thing. So at one point in time, the conversation moved from that to let's find a balance. I mean, it started with cutting down emission to 2.2 degrees Celsius, or at least 1.5 degrees Celsius, and now as we speak we are still on 2.8 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is going to mean in the coming years, but then now the conversation of these climate issues that Africa is suffering from, especially the sub-Saharan down south, if they can take accountability and be responsible for what they have caused, and invest, especially when it comes to funding, to see how we can, because there is no fighting climate change without funds, whether we like it or not. So these are some of the issues we are talking about. So climate justice, is it about fairness? Is it, we're talking about it, should it truly move from, like the president of AU says, from charity? Should we shift the conversation from PT right now to more voluntary actions?
Okay, first of all, solving every issue, he has monetary value added to it. And like you said, the reason why I think he made that statement, when you have monetary value added to something, and you get, you do not have, let's say you're not economically strong enough to tackle some issues in your country, and you aid for some help, that's why it looks like you are will I say, for charity work, according to him. So now we must also understand with what he has said that the issue of this climate problem has gone beyond charity work. Charity, will I say in quotes, helping people. I just help them with one time.
Instead of carrying placards.
Yes, we have to look at it beyond that. And I want to, I think we said it in the second news during the news segment. We want to come into a world where Africa can actually help themselves. Beyond saying that it's not a charity work. Other people, as far as I'm giving you help, they will still see it as that. Now, he is trying to tell people that they should see it beyond that. It is helping. It's not helping. It's not charity, but it is joining to curb a situation that it does not only affect us, because of course if climate if there's a climate problem in my continent, and you still get some products from my continent, and this climate issue affects some of those production in my continent, it will affect me exporting most of this product to you. So beyond the aiding thing, you have to look beyond that. This actually affects us in Africa, and if it affects us in Africa, it will affect you too. That's what he's trying to say. Let's see it as curbing a situation, a global situation, something that would affect us globally, economically, in the global world, and not just Africa as a continent. And two, like I said, I want us to come to a position where Africa can help themselves. Most of these things can be solved. If you look at these gatherings, whenever I see most of these gatherings of different presidents or different continents coming together, and they're trying to solve an issue, if you look at going back home, most of these people already put this thing into practice. And you just find out that when you're coming back for the next meeting, it looks like you're the only one that is not putting it into practice. And we must do that. As Africans, we must try to do that. Beyond partnering with other people, we must also look for ways that we can use to actually improve ourselves. Because of course, we've been saying these issues. One of the issues that were mentioned was flood, and all of these issues can be curbed. We cannot say that rain will stop falling. We cannot stop rain from falling, but the situation of flood can be curbed. It can be worked on. It can be the water that the rainfall brings or produces can be harnessed in a way that it can bring more advantage than its disadvantages. So we must also look into those issues. And like you said, we must go beyond help me and all of that. Like I said, the countries, they will not.
But we didn't cause some of these
like
issues for ourselves.
Of course, we did not.
I mean, I know that. Okay, I feel this is where things can be put in place, but well, I'm laughing because I need to laugh. But then, I think this is more like you saying innovation is Africa's strength at this point in time, which I stand by. But innovation needs investment, and I will not go back on my words. Innovation needs investment. I cannot be paying for what I am suffering already for what I did not cause. I cannot be paying, to solve, what I did not cause. When these people have come and everybody is aware, it's in the open that I did not cause this problem. This is an instance. I did not cause this problem, and I need to pay for it, and we know who caused the problem. So it's they've pledged 310 billion naira, and what did we see? 26 in 2023 till now, 26 billion dollars rather. You can imagine that's not a shortfall. I think it's a structural problem, because there is no accountability. If there is accountability and we hold these big banks funding industries that are using fossil fuel and scattering the environment, and we hold these developed nations that are coming to most of these African countries to come and, carry on all sort of industrial activities that are hazardous to our health, our lives, our society, our growth, our development, our everything, then we will not be here again. And I think this is what AU is trying to put out clear, and I really like the president's standpoint. We must celebrate Africa's ingenuity. We can use, we have serious sun in Africa. I mean, we can use it to create solar microgrids. We can create smart, climate smart seeds, mobile immigration devices, all of these irrigation devices, all of these things. And now we are discovering more rare earth resources in Africa. In the last discussion, I will refer back to the last COP30 discussion I went for before COP30 started, because it's just to put youth's ideas and what's not in Africa together. So we got talking, and we were talking about how I said let's leave all of these talks of Africa must, yes, we know that we must do this, but we know that Africa is not capacitated enough to finance some of these projects. We cannot, and I'm not saying that I am being too dependent at this point in time. I'm saying we must rely on other people to give us what we need. But if you have caused a harm to somebody's society, come and pay for it first of all, so we can use that money now to translate it into real-time actions. I'm talking of capacity. We have even moved past the stage of capacity building. I think Africa have the potential, especially in its youth. We have the potential. If we can put these things into meaningful action, I think we'll go from, most of these companies or whatnot stop financing at the scale of just pilot projects. Finance it at a real scale. Like, let's see real project. Let's see real demonstrations of this project. Let's see real systems. Let them work. We just have to move past this. We have everything. We can do this. We can do that. We have raw earth materials. But if other people are coming to carry our raw earth materials, just the other day I was reading on the news and I saw that they're mining illegally in Zamfara. I thought it was only in Nasarawa State and Niger State and some other parts of Nigeria, or in Gombe. I'm seeing now in Zamfara. And I don't even want to go far with this story, because that's something we'll bring an analyst and we're going to talk about it and digress on it. Divulge it. I like to say that, divulge it properly. But then, if we're even talking about adaptation too must be even localized. That's another thing. This is not a case of one size fits all. This is a case of one size does not fit all. Why we need this financing is that if you give us, we pledged for $310 billion and we got $26 billion. How is that going to go round? Not even half of. Because the climate issues in Nigeria is different from the climate issues in Ghana. Yes. The climate issues in Nigeria, in Abuja, is different from the climate issue in Nasarawa here that is close to Abuja. It's different from, Lagos is even far now. It's different. It's different from Niger State that is even close to Abuja. Yes. Niger State and Kaduna, the climate issues are different. So adaptation that works must be tailored. It must be, we must give these things how, we're seeing different, this climate issue, I think it's a whole lot at this point in time, because we thought it was just climate issue, but then we now have to go back to how we are tackling, how we are getting funding, how we must meet real-time demands, how we must meet that these actions too are sustainable, and how all of these pledges, people that are pledging must account for them. This is real talk at this point in time, because the demand that adaptation finance includes community projects. It's a whole lot. It includes capacity strengthening. It includes transparent local governance as well. Everybody must come into the picture. Not only those big infrastructure too that bypass them one, it's going to be the decade, because this is a 10-year period. It's going to be the decade of smart agriculture, going to be a decade of Mission 300 initiative for clean energy and ambitious continental, blueprints. And aside that, we know that every country have their own pledges. That is the nationally determined contributions. And we've just moved from NDC 2.0, now we're in NDC 3.0. And NDC 3.0 is talking about innovation and technology, how we are going to use innovation and technology, how we are going to provide green jobs, how blah, blah, blah. All of these things will not come just like that. So we need strategy. I really think that we need strategic partnership. We need to come together and see how we can, how industries can come together, how agricultural sectors can come together, all of this other blueprint economy, how they can come together and see how to plan predictable funding and technology transfer. That is the only way, because we are talking about building electric vehicles now, and we have the resources in Africa to build all of these things. But then we see other countries, other developed nations coming to us now to get some of these raw earth materials. If we don't this time around say, this is how we want to distribute this to you people, and this is what we want to get in return, we will still risk being, only at the giving end and never at the, or at the receiving end, because somehow we are give and I don't know, there's a way we are shaped in Africa, but then I just feel like at the end of the day we'll get it right. Maybe if we come to the realization that the future is green and that this green economy, I think, is an opportunity for Africa. Beyond any other thing, we should see it as we are trying to solve problem. It's an opportunity for Africa to grow as well, because we have all it takes for us at this point in time. The green transition economic development opportunity is in renewables, is in sustainable agribusiness. We are big on agriculture, is in circular economy ventures, is in low carbon manufacturing, is in a whole lot of things that Africa have in abundance. So I don't see why Africa should be sleeping on this. This is not me saying we should start being bureaucratic about this, but then if we look at how we are solving our problems and still finding solutions to even our existence, then I think it's a win. It's going to be a win for us. But altogether, I like what the AU is saying. Deborah, I said too much.
Like you said and you've been saying, we need to go beyond. Let's say the proper funding is to be given to solve the proper situations. But in all of this, I will still say that we need to go beyond. Beyond help, because it's now looking. And I'm very sure he made that statement for a reason. He had seen something for him to make that statement, because it's becoming. Africa is looking like a charity case now.
More like
because
you're helping them to get what you want.
Every sector, but yes. Because of what I want from you, or because of what I'm gaining from you, let me help you. Because of course, if they know that they're not gaining anything from you, they would not be bringing it to that extent. But it looks that way. But now we're saying look beyond that. But in all of this, look beyond that. Can we? I'm still saying it. Can we get to help ourselves as Africans? I know that we cannot do it alone. We need initiative. We need investors. We need people to come and help us. We need to partner with us, not help. Partner with us, not help.
Support.
Yes,
not help our efforts.
So yes, to partner with us to actually curb this situation, because of course we know that this situation doesn't just affect only Africa. If it affects the economic value of Africa and the agricultural value, it affects every other continent. Because of course we know so many or a lot of things are coming from Africa down to other continents. But in this, can we stop being dreamers? Like he said, the president said, can we stop being dreamers? We've been dreaming a lot, and we've written a lot of our dreams on papers. The dreams on papers are even more than the ones that we've actually done. So can we leave dreaming and just writing our dreams on papers and start realizing or bringing them to realistic view and value? Can we start attaching them to realistic view and value? Can we stop saying we will do this? Can we stop saying we will do this? Can we stop saying, okay, we can do this if you do this, and start doing them? If you start doing them, I think people will see reasons why they should help you. Or they should partner with you.
So I guess that's something we can hold on to. What the leaders are saying is to see how we can stop Africa this time around do not want to be pity parties. They are tired of forming pity parties. We want to, see how we can use what we have to get what we want and solve this issue once and for all. So as world leaders gather in Brazil for COP30, the conversation shouldn't just be about pledges. It should be about progress. It should be about, translating promises into real projects, real job, and real change for African communities. And of course, citizens, you have a role to play, like Deborah have rightfully said. We have our role to play, from conserving energy to supporting local green innovations to, of course, holding our leaders accountable for implementing Africa's climate plans. The fight for climate justice is also a fight for dignity. That's what the AU president is saying this time around. It's a fight for dignity, it's a fight for sustainability and the right to a livable future. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What does climate justice mean to you as an African? Do you think pledges are enough, or should Africa chart its own independent green path? Join the conversations, and do not forget, you can watch the replays of this episode and more insightful discussions on our YouTube channel at Idea TV. I am Cynthia Bassi, and of course I've been with
Deborah Jacobs.
All right, that's we saying thank you for spending your morning with us.